possible extradition back to Sweden. We'll talk about that in a minute. But what is your take on the arrest, the indictment, and how it could play out here in the United States vis-a-vis its implications for press freedom here?
Well, I guess I should start by saying that the indictment is for a violation of the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act, which is a hacking statute. And there's, in my view, no argument here that the hacking was constitutionally protected. And so the charges themselves, again, in my view, don't raise constitutional concerns.
Why would
the indictment, though, right? The indictment is much broader than the charges. The indictment lists as the means and manner of the conspiracy many things that legitimate journalists engage in every day. So protecting the identity of a source or communicating securely with a source. Those kinds of things are presented as evidence of a criminal conspiracy. And in fact, the indictment is quite short, but if you read it, you'll see that 90% of it is about things that legitimate journalists do every day. So much attention is given to those things that it's very hard for a reader not to come away with the impression that the Justice Department believes that those things are problematic. And so I guess I'm sort of conflicted about the charges. I don't find the charges themselves problematic, but the indictment is quite scary, and I think that any journalist who reads that indictment, especially investigative journalists who work on national security issues, there's no way to do that kind of journalism without doing the very things that the Justice Department is describing as part of a criminal conspiracy. And then we see that indictment against a background in which the administration, the Trump administration here, has stepped up leak investigations, has stigmatized, that's too weak a word, but stigmatized whistleblowers, has made clear that the administration will go after journalists who publish classified information, or has suggested that the administration will go after journalists who publish classified information. So especially against that background, I think this indictment is very worrying.
So one step backward, you say it is constitutionally protected, which means that you would put Assange in the category of a journalist or a publisher. Can you just explain?
No, I don't actually think that you need to believe that Julian Assange is a journalist to be worried about this indictment. You know, the Supreme Court here has never distinguished journalists from everybody else in terms of the protection that people get under the First Amendment. The protections are the same. And so there's really no legal relevance to this question of whether Julian Assange is a journalist or not. I'm not saying that's not a legitimate topic of debate, but it doesn't have any legal relevance. And the indictment doesn't turn on the fact that Julian Assange is not a journalist. The indictment is, again, describes all these things that Julian Assange is alleged to have done, and almost all of those things, not all of them, but almost all of those things are things that legitimate journalists do every day.